Recording now. Hello, and welcome. How you guys doing? Can everybody see me here? Yes, I guess so. Hello and happy Friday. Coming at you live here at Insight Production Studios in Phoenix, Arizona. My name is Robert Morales from RCO Network. RCO Network, good people, better business, discovering the best of you. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to be talking to now two very special guests. We had one before, but lo and behold, we are always open to surprises. We're going to be talking to our guests about their life, a little bit about business, and a little bit more about this loan stuff. So after that, we're going to have about 30 minutes of question and answer for everybody that's in attendance during our live Facebook stream. So if you're watching right now, hit those heart buttons so we can kind of see and feel the love that we're feeling here in this little group that we got going. And if you're watching this on the replay, hit the little wow emoji because, wow, I can't believe you're not watching us live. Follow us here on RCO Network on Facebook, as well as rconetwork.com and Instagram, LinkedIn at RCO Network. If you stick around for the full hour, there will be a special prize at the end. I want to congratulate Wendy Garcia, who is running for Arizona House of Representatives, who won last week's $750 video production prize. So that goes to her. I mean, there's not much of an audience, so you can't really clap. There can't be a whole lot going on. So, introduction. He is the managing partner for D&E Management Group, who has a chain of cellular phone retail locations in the East Valley since 2009. He is the founder of the Independent Insurance Advisor Group. He is the winner of AZ Central's 2016 Top 35 Under 35 Entrepreneurs Award. And most importantly, the reason why he's here is since 2014, he's been the managing partner for CR Business Solutions in Mesa, Arizona. Please welcome Mr. David Carrizosa.
Thank you.
Well, like I said, I had everything planned for David, but we have a special guest now. So I will allow Mr. Edward Gonzalez. My understanding is you're a managing partner for CR Business Solutions as well.
Yes, we are partners in this new venture. Myself, I have been helping small and medium-sized companies, especially Mexican companies, export into the U.S. I used to head the Pro Mexico office here in Arizona, and used to work for the Mexico Development Bank in Mexico, work in Europe, in the US and Mexico. And right now with a new venture where we are starting with Mr. Carrizosa, we are helping small and medium-sized companies reach their goals through some sensible financing solutions.
Sounds awesome. And David, do you want to do a quick intro while we have you on too?
Sure. I mean, Eduardo said it best. Definitely nailed it on the head. So what we're doing with this project is we're helping Arizona small business owners and self-employed professionals have the equal opportunity to receive capital at the best terms, fair rates. And we're doing this as a responsible company and responsible people because, we care the most about our local economy and obviously national economy, but we're here in Arizona. So we have this project where we have connections to over 1,000 financial institutions, banks, credit unions, private banks, where we're able to obtain that capital. So we're able to bring this whole network to every single business owner, self-employed person. So we're super excited about doing this. And, we're even more excited to be here with you, Robert. So thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome. So I think we're going to start today's show because we're really kind of like caught up in the middle of this SBA loan crisis thing. I call it a crisis because the amount of money, $350 billion, from my understanding, right, was issued out on through the Congress for our small businesses. And that was just eaten up in less than a week. Started off on a Friday, which is why we're doing this Friday, kind of last minute advertising, but started off on a Friday and the funds just soaked up by the following Thursday. So my information is that there is a new loan program, or at least continued money or funding for those small businesses. So not everybody got one. Not everybody got a loan. Not everybody was contacted. I think at this juncture, I'm going to start off with my experience, and then maybe you guys can kind of help me fill in and explain kind of what happened with me. So I am the owner of 2 separate businesses. I have a company that has a W-2 employee with one, and then I also have a company that's a partnership. So the company that has my W-2, I woke up yesterday to find it pleasantly surprised that there was $1,000 in my business account. And it did say EIDL, SBA, something with some other mucky muck. And it was my understanding that for the business that had the one employee, that $1,000 was for the employee. Still don't know how I got it, but I'll explain kind of what I did. I also applied at my local credit union. And I want to do a quick shout out to Kevin Warren, who's helped me out, process through everything. He's from Desert Financial, helping me. He was up until like 11 o'clock last night, helping me process some of this stuff. So I definitely wanted to shout out to him. But part of my story was I went to SBA.gov. I applied on their online program just as they announced they were going to do this bailout or help assistance. And about the next day, they shut it down and started referring everybody to their local lender. And I had applied just before that. And then afterward, they continued the application process. So I went directly to my lender, applied, and that's kind of the situation I'm in now. So I applied on SBA.gov, and I also applied through my banking institution. So is that kind of what's been going on with you guys? Is that kind of what you guys are seeing?
Yes, absolutely. You actually did the correct thing. Us speaking from our perspective, we wholeheartedly believe for business owners and self-employed professionals to go wherever they can to hopefully get those funds. From our experience and from what we've seen that happen from the first round, we've narrowed down that the three principal ways of going about this are the following. Number one, go to the SBA.gov if it's PPP, of course. If it's EIDL, and if it's PPP, go to your nearest bank, especially if it's a local credit union. This second round, it has been confirmed that $60 billion will be allocated just for credit unions. And then on top of that, yeah, right, let's go. And then, so the process we would say is go to the SBA, and then go to your where you bank, you business bank, go there. And then after that, we highly recommend to as well apply at a marketplace or fintech technology marketplace, which is what Eduardo and I are representing here. And that we carry 300 SBA approved banks that can look at your application. So do all three, maximize your opportunity. We did hear and we did see that if you go apply for funds at a bank that you don't bank with, it's a little tough. They might ask you to open a bank account first. Then there a lot of banks are saying, no, you can apply, but we're actually going to take priority on people who either A, have existing previous loans with us, or B, have a better history than you do. So if the last loan ran out in under a week or 10 days, they are saying, or it is being said, that this one's going to last no longer than that and maybe even less. So we got to be smart about that and hit those 3 arrows right there.
So I guess the learning lesson right now is if you haven't applied, you should be applying right now, or at least talking to somebody that's knowledgeable about applying, like you guys, yes. Right? Like you guys.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eduardo.
No, I was going to mention that just in other cases, some banks and some credit unions were on the list, but they were not actually giving out the applications because they couldn't, because they didn't have the procedure nailed down. So that's also another situation companies are in, that they need to go look for other sources. And there's where other banks or other fintech solutions come into play.
So one of the questions that I had for David when I first met him was, what is a fintech company? So it kind of helps a little bit what that means. And then there's some additional questions. What does fintech company mean?
You want to go for it, Eduardo?
Well, sure. So fintech is any company that streamlines the process through software development or AI. So that it could be credit loans, it could be real estate loans, it could be any type of an investment. Like if you want to go into stocks, there are a lot of options. So all these fintech companies, they are offering services that traditional banks and loan companies were offering in a streamlined process through an app or through a website. And what this does, it makes it more efficient, makes it faster, and in some cases more reliable, because instead of a human make a decision, the machine is making decisions for you. And that helps on the speeding up the process.
Have you guys seen an advantage to that as far as like being able to use a computer system versus somebody qualifying you through kind of paper, like a dinosaur?
So if I could add to that, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is we work with everybody and anybody, right? Ethically, you got to be ethical. But, obviously the power of a human isn't replaceable yet. So then what we do is we apply our smart application, which is what Eduardo was mentioning. So you submit through the technology, and the software will let you know if your app is incomplete or it could be rejected. And then professionals like ourselves and our team, we do a second scanning so we could submit to those 300 SBA financial institutions or banks. But on top of that, what we want to bring up the most is our platform. So our Precise FinTech, which FinTech stands for financial technology, in the first round of SBA at a national level, we were able to do 70,300 applications. In Arizona, we were only able to do a handful. There are a lot of things up for a debate, but we were able to get people funded. So this second round, there's more funds allocated to small businesses. But going back to the original topic, I just want to touch on that is the technology literally streamlines when a bank maybe has 4 or 5 people processing the paperwork. We have technology plus about 300 people processing a loan, so we're able to be faster and, like Eduardo mentioned, more reliable. But that doesn't mean we replace document preparers. We do know there are CPAs or accounting professionals or legal document preparers that do that charge $50, $99, $100, $350, $500. Yeah. But so we work with them as well. All we do is we shop around the profile to make sure they get those funds. So we send it to everyone. The document preparer obviously ensures that we get the documentation in pristine condition for the financial institution to say, check, I like this, here's your confirmation number. So we work with everybody, but yeah, we do have the advantage of technology as well.
Yeah, and these loans aren't just for people with ideas, right? Because I think I run into a lot of small business, early people with ideas, and they want to come in, and I think now they may be trying to take advantage of that time, but you can't just walk in with an idea and ask the SBA or Small Business Administration for a loan, correct? You have to have an established business, or you have to have some sort of entity created, correct?
Yep.
So I just want to make sure that's clarified too. So
yeah, sorry, I don't know if I was going to jump in, but yes, you are correct. So technically the SBA says the funds are also available for startups, but realistically speaking, not speaking as a lending professional, but as David personally speaking, if only 4% of small businesses were able to obtain these funds in the first round, startups are gonna, I wouldn't hope on those funds if I was them, because people who truly need them didn't even get it this round. So, you can make your own educated guess on that one.
Yeah. So commonly, a lot of banks won't provide loans unless you've been in business at least 2 years. Is that still the case for these SBA loans?
No.
Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead, Eduardo.
Go ahead, Eduardo. Dale.
Oh, yeah. The main requirement is they're going to ask for the best case scenario will be your taxes for last year. That will be the basis of how to calculate the loan, especially for the PPP. So at least have your taxes ready for last year.
So you don't have to necessarily be in business for a year. You just have to have filed your taxes at least 1 year. Okay, that should help out some people out there too. Another question again is just the formulation of the SBA loan itself. There's 3 types from my understanding. There was the PPP, there was the EIDL program, but it was my understanding that was segmented into 2 parts. There was like a grant program, and then which you don't owe any money back, and then the EIDL, which was a program where they give you the money, essentially they lend you the money, but you have to use it for the purposes of payroll. Is that my understanding, or is there more to the COVID loan per se?
Go ahead, David.
Sure. So yeah, there are essentially 2 major ones, right? The PPP and the EIDL. The EIDL has been around for a long time. That's a traditional disaster loan funds. Usually those are seen by people that or regions that get hit by a hurricane or some sort of natural disaster. We in Arizona never heard of that because we don't have natural disasters. But now that we have Corona, it's our first rodeo through this as a state. But what we do is they release the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. So essentially, you can combine both loans to protect your business, right? So if you get the PPP funds, you can only use it for payroll and even including yourself, right? It's if technically by the SBA says if you could prove that your income has been affected by the disaster, you could apply. So if that's $10, you could apply. If it's your entire income, you could apply. You just have to prove it, and you have to have the proper documentation, which I know we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, so the PPP is one, the EIDL is another. Where it really gets different is the PPP is essentially free money because it is a forgivable loan. The EIDL, on the other hand, you do have a interest rate, which is a fantastic interest rate. It's 3.75% for profit businesses, and if you're a nonprofit, it's 2.75. And then they will negotiate the lender and the SBA will negotiate, or they will let you know what's the time frame you could pay back in. For the PPP, it's 24 months, and it's usually what it is, but you could get it forgiven, and it's at 1%. So that's kind of what starts really getting, a lot of people start getting tricky. My favorite rule of thumb is if you have a business or you are self-employed, you're a 1099 miss or something like that, go to the PPP. That's where you belong. If you got property and you're behind on your rent, you could do the PPP plus the EIDL. So that's the simplest ways of looking at that.
That's awesome. Again, for the audience out there, we're taking questions. I think Violet's in the back over here taking your questions. So if you want to go ahead and write those down in the comments section, we'll answer them in the next 30 or so minutes. But again, we're here live with Mr. David Carrizosa and his business partner, Edward Gonzalez from CR Biz Solutions, talking about this whole SBA small business stuff. Like I said, we will have a question and answer session, but after that, there is a special giveaway prize. So please hang in there for the full hour. Follow us here on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn at Our CEO Network, ourceonetwork.com. Also, I want to thank our sponsors, Insight Productions, for setting up the audio video for today's interview. Gabby Chaidez from Desodia setting up today's interview with me and Mr. David. Dan Kite from Workuity, he's our home away from home, servicing all your workspace needs and shared office supplies. They're offering office discounts. So if you're a small business looking for a shared space, you can't afford a full office, they do have smaller desks and shared space available there at Workuity. Again, he's one of our major sponsors here at Our CEO Network. If you need details, please IM me here at Our CEO Network. But keep those hearts coming, keep those wows coming, because we appreciate the love. So, David, getting back to kind of the SBA stuff. So to streamline things, obviously they've released or Congress has passed this bill to continue the funding. And I think the new funding is about 310 billion versus 350. Don't know why it's 40 billion less, but it is what it is. And we're moving along with it. Anticipating that it's getting released today, since it got released on a Friday last time, so what can people be doing right now? What documents, what do they need to prepare for this loan if they're one of the few that hasn't applied or one of the few that hasn't gotten in yet?
So that's an amazing question. I'll let Eduardo take over so I don't hog the whole time. But what I really want to mention, and again, so a lot of financial institutions and even some of the SBA offices around the country say, hey, if you applied in one place, stop so you don't flood it. We did here on the counter side, apply everywhere. You never know who's going to get to it first. Obviously, because of the position that we're in, we don't want to be spreading misinformation. But what I could definitely say is if you already applied at your financial institution, just call them up the first round. Call them up and say, do I need to apply again with you? Some financial institutions are making everyone reapply, and others say, no, don't worry, your stack is still here. So make sure you follow up with that. The second thing is find fintech companies like Eduardo's and I that we're representing. These guys move a lot faster and they're not competing. They're totally different institutions. So maximize your opportunity to be able to get these funds. I mean, we want to deliver the most value and the most content to your members and to your listeners, Robert, because we want to give them those ninja tricks that are really going to get them through. And we'll share that in a little bit. But right now, hit your bank institution and go hit fintech companies. And Eduardo mentions this a lot. The difference of applying in a fintech company is that we don't take deposits. So we're not a bank. We don't take deposits. We don't sell merchant processing. We just get you the funds, and then you take those funds and you go into your bank of choice. So we're not even related. So just go for both of them, see what happens, right? So that's number one. Apply in multiple places that we would say. Number two, and Eduardo jump in. Number two is.
Oh, you're doing great.
So number two is make sure you go to your CPA if you have one. It seems that business owners with CPAs are being able to perform a lot quicker. If not, get your accounting professional, or look for somebody with a track record that does know how to fill out and has some sort of track record doing SBA loans before, or has some track record this time around. Because the last thing you really want to do is you fill out the information or get it filled out somewhere and it's incomplete or it's incorrect, because by the time it gets to somebody who could approve it, they're going to say, hey, you're missing the date, or you're missing something simple. And then they take your loan from here all the way down to here, and the funds are going to be gone. So we want to make sure your listeners have ninja tips. Do not submit if it's not right, because it's worse if you submit, incomplete. Now that's not to be misunderstood with do not apply. All right. So I want to make the two distinctions. So apply, absolutely apply, like today, right?
So I think the term is double check your double check.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
You said it best, Robert. Eduardo, anything you want to add right there?
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, you don't want to leave money on the table. You have to make sure you ask for everything that you deserve, because you need to continue doing your business. And also, just want to add that the PPP is a forgiveness loan, so you don't have to pay that back. And that is also going to create a little bit of administration on behalf of the companies. That money has to be correctly applied for what is it intended to be, which is payroll. So companies will need to follow up on that, especially. And there's where David's recommendation of having a CPA or professional bookkeeper or something that helps you do the correct administration and allocating of those funds will be essential, because that's going to be something that we think companies should be on top of it.
Okay. So is there any way that these that the IRS is checking to make sure that money is going to payroll? Like you just said, obviously your CPA will take care of that if you have a CPA. But if you're one of those smaller businesses that can't afford a CPA, is there something that you guys may suggest to kind of provide documentation or provide something that shows that money went to payroll?
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So absolutely. So, in the first round, self-employed, sole proprietorship, 1099s, independent contractors, all those types of people that fall under that group, they said too late, hey, now you qualify, and the funds were gone like the next day, right? So, with that being said, what we would suggest doing is, let me backtrack a little bit. I just want to make it clear to a lot of people, because a lot of people think that only businesses apply for that. So let me just backtrack a little bit. So this PPP funds are available for self-employed people. Those mean Uber drivers. Those mean Lyft drivers, Postmates drivers, brokers, whether you're a real estate broker or mortgage brokers, real estate agents, independent contractors, S corps, partnerships, single member LLCs, and anybody with a 1099 miscellaneous in it. So they're available for that. So I just want to make sure a lot of people don't think, oh, it's a small business with payroll. So with that being said, all you have to do, if you don't have a way of doing it, you could use your Schedule C from 2019 to be able to apply. And you can back it up with personal accounting or bank statements that shows this was my take-home pay. And then you do those three things or a combination, and you should be able to qualify for the funds. And then one last thing, for the people that receive the funds, right? So it's not forgivable right off the bat. It becomes forgivable. So if there was some sort of scam or some sort of miscalculation in the funds, there is a very intricate process to be able to get those funds forgiven. If you don't, you got to pay the whole money back.
So, I hear cruises are very cheap nowadays, so you can't use that money for taking a cruise.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So
it's a business.
The government did watch it tell in one way or another, but the rule of thumb is the minute you get those funds deposited, make sure you track there's a process, but there's a way to track everything to be able to submit that, hey, it was used for, it was meant to be used. Now you can give me my forgiveness on those funds. Or if not, then you got to pay them back. So just cash advance.
That's awesome. So as far as, we're wrapping up the first half hour, any suggestion right now, anything that, again, people can gather right now as of today to get their application ready, whether that's their TIN or the document. Is there specific documents they should be getting together right now?
Absolutely. Eduardo, you want to jump in?
Sure. So anybody who has Schedule C and is self-employed, that will be their document. If they pay employees, they're gonna need the forms that they use to pay the employees. You give the employee the W-2, but then you have to take what are the numbers, David?
What's that? Sorry?
The numbers for when you pay out salaries to your employees, the forms, the numbers. 90.
Is it a 99? I mean, I missed
1099.
No. So I'll let David talk while I look for the form.
He's looking for the form. No, so what we'll do, since we're at the half hour, we'll get into audience questions because there's a couple coming in. David, if you want to plug CR Biz Solutions, where can they find you? Where can we call you for follow-up information?
Sure. So you could definitely give us a call at 480-855-2917. That is our front desk phone. I will put the link in the chat, or I'll send it to you, Robert. And that link actually is to our smart application, where anyone looking to apply for these funds, they could go with us and go through us. Again, we're not to replace your financial institution. We're here to add additional help to get you those funds. On top of that, we will be launching Arizona Business Lending here pretty soon. So you can follow that in the next week or so. And more importantly, you could follow us here because we will be becoming a member and a sponsor real soon. So.
Well, we appreciate that. And so thank you guys for going back to the Q&A session. Got a couple questions from the audience. Annabella Gomez said that her EIDL SBA loan was approved, but has not received her paperwork on loan terms. Do people normally get paperwork, or is it all digital now since we're kind of in this crisis? She said she's waiting for her loan terms. Is there generic loan terms regarding this, or is it all specific to the bank they apply with?
Yeah, unfortunately, if you look at the fine print, it says everything is in short terms, everything after you've been approved goes between the lender and yourself, and that's hundreds, if not thousands, of approved lenders around the nation. If we go while you're still getting approved, the way you know those funds were absolutely 100% allocated to you is if you received a confirmation number or a POP number. That's a 10-digit number. Rarely could it be 11, but it's a 10-digit number that confirms that those funds are to be allocated to you. So a lot of businesses right now have not received the confirmed funds from the first round. They're still sending those out. But even though it ran out of funds, you still have your pie, your piece of the pie is there, and you have to wait for it. So just make sure you have a POP number, confirmation number, and you know it's the right one if it's 10 digits. Sometimes a lot of people say, hey, I got a confirmation of my application number, and that means the lender just gave you a confirmation number that you submitted an app. But then now you need a confirmation number, which is a POP. After you receive one of those numbers, after that, the lender has exactly 10 days to do final underwriting. And what happens there is the lender gets to see to make sure there was no fraud happen, get through the cracks, or you didn't inflate those numbers. So then they do final underwriting. And then what happens there is three things. Either A, you might get a little bit more money than you asked for. B, you get the money you asked for. Or C, you get less money than you asked for. But you are confirmed to have received those funds. So
And that must be why a lot of these banks are streamlining to their clients only, because majority of their clients already have this. I mean, with the banking institution I'm with, they already have my TIN documentation. They have my Arizona Corporation Commission documentation. They have what my payroll looks like and everything else, my transactions. So I think it's probably easier for them, but I don't think that should be a discouragement to apply other places too, or
yes.
get help from you guys there. Eduardo, did you find those form numbers?
Yeah. So every quarter they have the employer has to send the form 941 for all the payroll he paid. In case they don't have that, they can use a payroll processing records. And if they don't have that, then it could be that they pay their subcontractors through a 1099. So those forms are going to be needed if you have employees or you subcontract contract manufacturers, contract operations. But if you're self-employed, then you're going to need your Schedule C. And then there's a question about in the chat here that says here, if the company has had net loss for the last 2 years, will the business qualify for PPP? If it's self-employed, it won't qualify. But if he has employees and W-2s and the forms that I just mentioned, then they can ask for it. Because for self-employment, the number that the IRS is going to look at is the line 31 of your Schedule C, which is basically what you end up earning after expenses. And if that is negative, then you're not going to be able to take that number and apply it. And the way they do it, they're going to take that number, divide it by 12, and then multiply it by 2.5. So what you do is you take a monthly average, and what they're going to give you is 2 months and a half.
That just means we need to get Mr. Oman some more advertising and marketing. on RCO Network. Yeah, so that question came from Beto Rahman. She also had another question earlier to that. She said, if I applied for EIDL and used my 2019 income tax to apply, do you also provide a year-to-date financial statements, income statements, balance sheet? So do you have to provide, essentially, do you have to provide income statements and balance sheet? I might be able to fill into that. The EIDL, I just applied on SBA.gov.
Right.
They already had my TIN. They already had some basic information. I had to plop in some of my my income and kind of what I've received. I remember very few questions. It was only maybe 2 sites or 2 pages off that application that I was able to fill in. So for the EIDL that I received, it was very simple, very easy, and that was through the SBA.gov. I don't know if you guys have a different experience or other for EIDL.
David?
No, I mean, it's exactly. So the EIDL can go directly through the SBA, and all of the funding, all the approved partners of the SBA are on there. So that's the best way to go about it. You could still apply for the EIDL at your bank if it's SBA approved. But yeah, so that one you could go directly to SBA and then also apply a secondary with a marketplace for somebody else. But it essentially goes to the same pool. But again, you don't know which. It's like going through a slide at the pool, right? You don't know which is gonna go faster. So if you can get on both, get on both lines.
And if I'm being honest, Miss Beta, I didn't, Miss Roman, I didn't know what I was applying for. I just went on the site and started. I'm like, all I heard was like SBA.gov, go apply. I put all my information in, and I was pleasantly surprised. And that took about a 2-week process. So if you're waiting for it tomorrow, it's not going to be a tomorrow thing.
So can I add to that, Robert, please? So what we've seen personally, right? There's a lot of great information out there. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. And not because, nobody wants to give misinformation, but it changes every day. And, at the same time, everybody in the SBA and every financial institution are doing their best to be able to move along with this. But what I like to add to that is the people that will get these funds are the ones that have the right documentation for 2019. They could kind of pull it off if they have Q1 of 2020, where at least they could show payroll for for the first quarter of 2020. But at the end of the day is, you have to apply as fast as you can, everywhere that you can. Make sure that you have a good CPA, or you yourself are good at accounting or understand enough of it to be able to do this, because one mess up on the app or some numbers being wrong, could really, really harm you. So, the way it's looked at is if you have a CPA, they could give you all your information. Application is quick. Fintech companies like Eduardo and I that we're representing, 15 minutes. That's all it takes. Boom, out the door.
Or you can be like me and marry a CPA accountant, and
there you go.
It's all taken care of for you.
That's even better. That's it.
I'm gonna get crap for that later, by the way. All right, so you have something, Eduardo? Besides that, we have other questions too.
Oh no, I was gonna say I feel you. I have one at home.
So we have another question from Jamil Rahman. What forms do I apply, or what forms do you apply with if you have a contract employees? I think, did we answer that already, or what forms do you apply with when you have contract employees? So I'm guessing 1099.
1099, right? Yeah.
Annabella received funds, just no paperwork. Again, going back to that question, do people normally get paperwork? I mean, we're kind of in the electronic filing system now. And so I don't know what Annabella's specific question may be, but
it depends. If she was able to do everything electronically, and everything she handles from the IRS or financial institutions electronically, it's probably going to follow the same process. We haven't heard of anyone getting funds without the terms on there, so might want to dig through spam. I mean, if I personally haven't seen anyone do just all paperwork, like physical paperwork. So I would check the spam folder. I would call my bank or whoever funded it and
Yeah.
and see, where
Well,
the rest of the information is.
and to give some insight regarding my situation, the EIDL that I received, I applied online, but I didn't receive any paperwork. It was just I logged in my bank account and it was there. And I'm like, I'm still in a position right now because this just happened yesterday. I don't know if I have to pay that back. I don't know. I mean, it's, as far as I'm looking, it's free money, but I didn't receive any paperwork that shows that it's a loan or anything. So, I mean, that's an oddity that I came across in my personal situation.
Yeah. We can hear you, David.
I think we lost
You're
you.
muted.
Sorry. Yes. Thank you. Good call. So technically, like speaking, is if it's 10,000 and under, and you have no paperwork, then it's probably gonna be forgiven. Especially 1,000, I think that's probably forgiven. But yeah,
Okay.
10,000 and under is usually forgiven. But I would still follow up and see, a little bit about that and just ensure we don't want any surprises. But yeah, rule of thumb.
And for companies who got a loan like yourself and haven't applied to the PPP, with this new process, you have to let them know that you got that money through the PPP, especially if some of the funds you got were requested based on payroll. So what they're trying to do is not to prevent double dipping. You cannot ask both programs for the same reason. So yeah. So
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I have to pay taxes. And the funny thing is, in my situation, most of the money all this money that I received so far is just going back to pay back taxes and my first quarter, which is kind of funny. I did get an offline question, and we may have answered this already. Question came from Wendell Schultz. He has a transport website, LTN, if I can plug him, because I know he's probably watching. He has contract employees. Is there any ability to receive these type of loans on contract employees and not have any W-2? As his business, from what I understand it, they do a lot of contracting. They have a lot of truck drivers that they're subcontractors essentially, and he doesn't have any direct employees. Is any of the funds available for him?
Yes, through the 1099s that he gave out or they gave out. Yeah.
So, and then to add to Eduardo, yeah, so the employees could do their 1099, right? Especially with subcontracting, and however they showed the tax on earned income or the Schedule C. But for him, is all he has to do is he has to prove how his business has been impacted financially. So if the transportation business, let's say, went to the border, my grandfather has a big shuttle company to the border. It's frozen. So then he just showed, hey, this is what I earned through. He was on payroll himself plus draws. So he just provided the documentation to be able to show this is what I take home monthly, and then he did a 2.5 on it. So all he could do is show how he's been directly impacted. His drivers, if they're all 1099, he could give them the 1099s, or they could demonstrate. But it's kind of, hey, if you pay your own taxes and you're a 1099, you're so prop, to each their own. You got to do it on your own. It's usually how it works.
Okay. I don't see any more questions coming in. I mean, is there anything else that you can kind of fill in the gaps? Well, if anybody else is going to give any questions, is there anything else that we've kind of missed, or because these SBAs, these are very specific loans. So these are only for the COVID situation. Is there other SBA loans that people can apply for, or other loans that people get assistance with if they don't find an SBA or don't get qualified for the EIDL or these COVID loans?
Yes, absolutely. So, for instance, something I wanted to add real quick, Robert. Another form that works to apply is for those that also have a K1. So K1s you could use because that's earned income of the company. So K1s also work. I know it's CPA talk or accounting talk. So what I want to say is I know we went down the details of this. I just want to make sure we let your viewers know that the best way to go about this is find somebody who knows how to do this, or go with the company like ours, or go with the bank that hasn't. we're just going through this conversation so they have more insight. But if you're not an accountant, you don't really have your own accounting, and you're self-employed, go find someone that knows how to do this. I don't know if your wife does this, Robert, but if she's a CPA, I'm sure she could get everything together and out the door, right?
You better watch yourself. She's listening.
But one thing I did want to mention is we did hear, and this is such a small detail, but I want to share. If you are going to submit your own application, make sure you actually get your own NICS code correct. That's an updated NICS code, because it's going to ask you in the application what your NICS code is, which stands for NAICS, which is Northern American Industry Classification System. It shows what business you're in and what market you're in, and that's what shows how much money is allocated to that industry. If your NAICS code is not correct, your application will be booted. So I just wanted to make sure, for those that do apply by themselves, to ensure that they make sure they fix that. And also another thing that we want to share, as far as ninja tricks for your listeners, is that we want to make sure that they have all of 2019 tax documentation ready when they apply, and 2020 as well, if possible. And if you are self-employed, make sure you have your 2019 Schedule C income tax return. With that, you could breeze through this. You could totally breeze through this. So we just want to make sure they know that kind of information. Another thing is, if you handwrite notes, make sure you look, or you print the PDF application from the SBA, and then you take it to a financial institution. A lot of people are doing it like that. They go print out the PPP from the SBA site, and then they go to the bank. Make sure you fill it out correctly. Double check it, because a lot of the times bank tellers are not as attentive right now, or if you could even get a teller or wherever you submit it. So make sure you double check that as well. And then something else I wanted to add is, do not shortchange yourself. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people are saying, let me do 2.5 on my personal payroll. But if off of the income, you as a self-employed professional or a business owner, we have additional expenses. Some of them have insurance policies. Some of them have 401k contributions. You have different things. Add those in there. Those will and can be covered. It's not just your immediate take home. So make sure you add anything else that your personal income is relying on. So you could add that as well. And that's my opinion.
Awesome. Perfect. So somebody asked both you and Eduardo, what is your company again, and how can we contact you?
Yeah, our company is Arizona Business Lending. We will share the link for the application. I don't know if you could post that for us, Robert. And our fintech company we're representing the fintech company called Lendio. That's our main platform that we're going with right now for the SBA process. There's over 300 approved banks through there. And one thing I want to let people know as well is that, because it is an SBA governed funding program or lending program, doesn't matter where you go, as long as you're SBA approved, same terms, same interest, same everything, regardless of where you go. So just want to add that as well.
Send me it. We'll add it to you. Eduardo, is there anything you want to fill in? We're on the last couple of minutes of our show today. If there's anything that we missed or anything you want to fill in, Eduardo, you have the floor.
Oh, no, I think we cover everything. Just you don't waste any time. Go and apply. Scan everything into PDFs. That will make the process easier. If you're going to do a fintech request, and just have the paperwork ready, apply.
I think we got most of that. You're a little bit choppy, Edward, but we'll get it.
Sorry.
David,
yeah.
you have the floor. Last few words.
Yes, exactly what Eduardo mentioned. please go apply at the SBA, go apply at the bank that you're currently banking with. Make sure they're SBA approved. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of them that are approved. So ask. Here's a ninja trick is, again, if the bank or credit union you're with is not SBA approved, do not, personal opinion, do not go to Wells Fargo or another bank because they're not going to prioritize you. Go to a fintech company. There's a handful around. Apply to all of them. And that'll probably be the fastest way you could get this done. And on another note too, which you had asked and you didn't, and I didn't answer, what happens after this? You know, again, only a handful of businesses are going to get these funds, and a lot of them aren't. You know, unfortunately, we would love for everybody to get the funds. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. But what happens after this is there is capital that is very close or very compared to SBA lending. So make the right decision for your business. Ensure you bootstrap. Make sure you're planning. You know, you are the only one that could save your business through this. Being part of our CEO network and Robert's mindset is excellent to be able to get through something like this. But lenders will be lending. So ensure that you keep your books right. Get a CPA if you don't have one, or get a really good bookkeeper if you don't have one. This is an amazing lesson, right? This is an amazing lesson, and I hate to be the bearer of this news, but it's an amazing lesson for all those businesses and also self-employed people that never really wanted to take care of accounting. Now these funds are not accessible because we don't have, or they don't have these documents. So this is a silver lining is now we know what we could do to get funding in the future. And on top of that, being part of a tight network like our CEO network is essential, because if we stick together, we'll make it happen. So just hang tight, practice all those business ethics and all those techniques and everything you've done. We got through 2008, little bruised and bloodied, but we got through. We'll get through this. So together we'll make it happen, and we'll be here to help with anything we can.
Appreciate it, David and Eduardo. So we've come to the end of our show. It's a little bit early, but we'll make do. I want to talk about our prize giveaway. So we're going to be giving away $5, $10 Starbucks gift cards to keep the midnight oil burning. Look, I got bags under my eyes because I was up until midnight last night, and I will be up until midnight tonight working, because that's the heart of an entrepreneur. So if you go, we all know. So if you go to our CEO, or actually Insight Productions, if you type in the search bar on YouTube, Robert Morales Insight Productions, and click the subscribe button, the first 5 emails that I get will get a Starbucks gift card valued at a whopping $10 each. So we got 5 of those coming your way. So Robert Morales here for our CEO Network. So I appreciate you guys for coming. One more plug for CR Biz Solutions or Lendio, whatever you got, guys, David and Eduardo.
Yeah, make sure you follow us at CR Business Solutions. You just all social media is the same way: CR Business Solutions, Arizona Business Lending, and more importantly, when we could all congregate, we'll see you in person at the RCO Network.
Yes, we will have our live events soon, but I'm glad that you guys are able to come. Thank you, David. Thank you, Eduardo. Robert Morales, our CEO Network. Join us next week. 1 p.m. We have Alyssa Gletz talking about our personal finances. Alyssa Gletz, Color My Credit. She's going to be going through the process of what we should be doing during this COVID crisis to preserve our personal finances. So Alyssa Gletz, next Friday, look out for that 1 p.m. So thanks again, guys. You guys have a good evening, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.